Tonight on the news at 10, we'll take you to the University of Alabama's homecoming pep rally and bonfire. Plus, the mother of a Partlow patient has filed a lawsuit hoping to keep the facility open.
You're watching Alabama's WVUA News at 10 with your award-winning news team, Claire Huddleston, weather with Richard Scott, and sports with Gary Harris.
Thanks for joining us tonight. It's homecoming at the Capstone and your home team has you covered. First, we'll take you to the homecoming pep rally on the UA Quad. The voice of Crimson Tide football, Eli Gold, emceed the event. Big Al, the University of Alabama cheerleaders, and the $1 Million Band pumped up the crowd. Head coach Nick Saban and several football players stopped by and spoke to the crowd. The last time Alabama played Vanderbilt was in 2007 in Nashville. Alabama won 24-7. During tonight's pep rally, the homecoming committee announced this year's homecoming queen. She's Emily McLaughlin from Montgomery. She's sponsored by the Phi Mu sorority. McLaughlin is a senior majoring in nursing. The other members of this year's homecoming court are Erica Baranek of Virginia, sponsored by the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Caressa Nancy Hogan of Birmingham, sponsored by the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Fernanda Lima of Douglasville, Georgia, sponsored by the University Honors Program. And Mary Talley of Orlando, Florida, sponsored by the Kappa Alpha Theta sorority. McLaughlin will be crowned during halftime tomorrow. 8,245 students voted in this year's homecoming queen election. After the pep rally, the crowd walked over to the homecoming bonfire. This is a fan favorite at the Capstone. Fans young and old watched Tuscaloosa Fire and Rescue set the wood ablaze. Because we haven't seen any rain this week, the grass is pretty dry. Firefighters say they're keeping a watchful eye on the flames.
We have 3 fire apparatus standing by. There's a pumper truck, and there's a tanker truck with 2,500 gallons of water on it. There's about 10 firefighters standing by. They have extra fire extinguishers. The university also puts about 3 to 4 inches of sand to keep the fire from spreading.
Lawn decorations are another long-standing tradition at the Capstone. Visitors have already been enjoying the brightly colored displays. Each homecoming campus organizations create large structures made of wood and chicken wire. They're filled with thousands of pomps, which are small squares of colored tissue paper. It becomes a work of art that portrays Crimson Tide's spirit. This year's homecoming theme is "The Tradition Rolls On."
We spend hours just bending little pieces of paper in a little bitty balls to create huge 14 by 30 foot decorations for people to come in from across the country for Alabama homecoming, just because it's such a huge tradition.
Here are the winners for this year's lawn decoration competition. Delta Zeta placed first, Alpha Chi Omega and Alpha Delta Pi tied for second, and Zeta Tau Alpha placed third. Congratulations to all of the winners. It's become a yearly tradition at the Capstone. The man known as Morning Joe made an appearance in West Alabama today. Joe Scarborough, the host of MSNBC's Morning Joe and the Citadel radio program, The Joe Scarborough Show, broadcast from Rama Jammas this morning. Scarborough is in town for the homecoming festivities. He says it's always great to be back at the university.
I mean, this is home. It feels like home, and my son Joey's here, and we have a lot of people in our office that are Alabama people as well, so it's always great to come home.
Scarborough graduated from the University of Alabama in 1985. He represented Florida in Congress from 1994 to 2001. Many UA alumni are rolling into town. Alabama pride can be seen all over campus. Fans say there's no place they'd rather be. They say it's important to come into town for homecoming to show their support for the Tide and the university. Fans say they love the homecoming atmosphere and keeping their traditions rolling.
The biggest thing I enjoy about all of this is the University of Alabama doing what they do with the homecoming and the parades and everything else, which the kids like and we like, and we're able to go out and enjoy ourselves.
Well, I think that the spirit of the students especially, and the fans, the alumni, they come and they really enjoy the experience. It's going to be a beautiful day, beautiful weather. It's just going to be a great day for Alabama football.
It will be a great day for football, and we'd like you to start your game day with us. Join Gary Harris and John Huddleston at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning for Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance. This week's homecoming show includes former Alabama and All-American pro football player Jeremiah Castile, pro golfer Dickie Pride, and Joe Fisher, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores. Again, join us tomorrow morning at 8 for Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance. After Crimson Tide kickoff, stay tuned for our live coverage of the UA Homecoming Parade. First Lady of Alabama football Terry Saban will co-host our live broadcast with Lynn Brooks. We'll show you the parade in its entirety and we'll show you highlights of Homecoming Week. Our live coverage begins at 11:30 tomorrow morning. There's lots of events going on tomorrow. Bryant Museum will be open from 9 until 6. There you can meet Delbert Reed, author of When Winning Was Everything. He'll be signing copies of his book from 1 until 4. And from 2:30 to 4:30, Keith Donovan will sign copies of his book, America's Quarterback, Bart Starr. At 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, you can catch an encore performance of the choreography champions, the Alpha Chi Omega sorority. At 4 o'clock, you can meet members of the UA softball and women's tennis teams. You can support the football team during the Walk of Champions at Bryant-Denny Stadium around 3:45. Stadium gates open at 4 o'clock. The Elephant Stomp will fill the quad on the steps of Gorgas Library starting at 5 o'clock. Bama's game against Vanderbilt kicks off at 6 o'clock. What is the weather going to look like for the homecoming game tomorrow? Richard Scott joins us now with more. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Claire, good Friday night to you. No rain to talk about, and that is some good news right now. Clear skies across the southeast Mississippi and Alabama, no clouds around and no rain. Cooler temperatures tonight, still fairly mild. In fact, 64 in T-Town, look at 58 in Demopolis. Some cooler temperatures just to the south and west of Tuscaloosa, now also 55 in Gaston, but still 70 in Birmingham, clear at 66. And here's that weekend forecast for Saturday. Game day here in Alabama. Look for temperatures back in around 82 degrees for a high. For Tuscaloosa's forecast on Saturday, low 80s on Sunday as well. Plenty of sun, no chance to rain through the weekend. Low humidity. It will get a little breezy though tomorrow. You'll notice that east wind kind of gusty at times to about 20 miles per hour. But what about the rest of the forecast? Home team weather is coming up.
The mother of a Partlow patient has filed a lawsuit saying Governor Robert Bentley can't legally close the Tuscaloosa facility. The lawsuit claims only the Alabama legislature can close the center. A hearing is set for October 17th in Montgomery County Circuit Court. The Department of Mental Health spokesperson John Ziegler says a response is being prepared and the department will vigorously oppose the lawsuit. Partlow is slated to close November 30th. The U.S. Justice Department has asked a federal appeals court to block enforcement of Alabama's new immigration law. Several hours after that, a coalition of immigrant support groups did the same thing. The groups say the new law has created chaos in Alabama. The government says the new law will create difficulties for people who are legal citizens. The law is considered to be the toughest in the nation. Alabama farmers say the new immigration law is having a negative impact on the state's agriculture industry. They say they're losing migrant workers on a daily basis, leaving crop fields unattended and the financial future of some farms in jeopardy. Pat Peterson reports from Mobile.
There's no roots, no stems in them.
Giuseppe Paturis and his family have used migrant workers on their Baldwin County farm for decades.
The Americans aren't going to get out in the heat and work. They're not going to bend their back all day long, and they're not going to work. They're not as hard of workers as Hispanics.
But Paturis says last week his migrant workers walked off the job and moved out of Alabama, afraid of the state's new immigration law. Paturis says less help in the fields could mean higher prices at produce stands.
It's going to drastically affect the consumer.
Paturis can't find local people willing to work.
There's no Americans that are going to come out and do this kind of work. They just won't work. They'll work a day or two and that's it. You won't see them again. Some of them work 30 minutes and they leave the field. You don't even hear from them. If we don't have labor to pick the crops, I either grow it and pick what you can pick yourself or stop farming.
We don't know what we're going to be able to do. Do we need to stay in business or do we need to go out of business?
Bill Penry has been farming for 53 years.
If we don't have the labor, we'll have to go out of business on it.
Penry lost 4 migrant workers at his sweet potato farm, so he hired local replacements.
How's that working out?
Fair.
But he's not confident they'll stick around.
When you start talking about picking potatoes off the ground, we've got nobody to do that. We tried it this year and they couldn't take the heat.
Farming is hard work, but can pay well. The problem, according to many farmers, however, is finding locals willing and able to replace migrant workers leaving Alabama.
Alabama's Agriculture Commissioner John McMillan suggests farmers look at work-release prison inmates if they're experiencing labor shortages. There are 2,300 inmates in the work-release program. Now let's get to that graphic. A North Alabama woman has been reunited with a treasured belonging We'll have the heartwarming story right after the break.